Okay, here's some more examples that I want to go through with factor by grouping. Okay, so again, practice these. The only way you're going to get good at it, like math and any other skill, is by practice. So let's go through some examples, do these on your own, and let's go. So let's jump right in. So factor by grouping, again, I look for common factors. So I've got an m and an m here, and I've got, well, I don't have p, but I got 3. So I'm going to factor out an m out of these two. So I'm going to group these two together, and I'm going to group these two together. And so now I'm going to factor out the m here, and that leaves me p squared plus 7. And then here I'm going to factor out a 3, so that gives me a 3 times, and then it leaves behind a p squared plus 7. And lo and behold, I see I have the same factor again. I got a greatest common factor here. And so now I'm going to factor out that, and so I'm going to get p squared plus 7 times m plus 3. And I'm done. Okay, what about the next one? So again, I'm going to group them, see if there's a greatest common factor. Okay, so let's look at this. Well, here I got these two have a greatest common factor, and these two have a common factor. This has a common factor, and this has a common factor. So let's rearrange these. Okay, so I'm going to rearrange. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put these two together, okay, and I'm going to move this one over here. So the subtraction goes with this one, and the subtraction goes with this one. So I can move this one to here. So I'm going to write this as AZ minus 2z plus 2y squared minus ay squared. And so now I can group these. In fact, hold on a second, let me write it a little higher so I don't run out of room. Okay, so now I'm going to group these together and group these together. Okay, and now I'm going to factor. So I'm going to factor the z here, which will give me a minus 2. And then I'm going to factor out a y squared here. Actually, I'm going to factor out a negative y squared. And you'll see why I'm doing that. So if I factor out a negative 1, it's going to change the signs of both of these. So it's going to be negative y, so this will become a negative 2 plus a. So I got a minus 2, and this is the same thing. I can rewrite this as a minus 2. I could flip these and write it as a subtraction. That's why I took out the negative y. So a minus 2. And so now my final answer, because now I got a minus 2 and a minus 2, now I'm going to factor out the a minus 2. So a minus 2, and then times what's left over? Z minus y. And I'm done. Okay, so now let's do the last one here. So notice there's no common factor here, okay, except for a negative 1. And but there's a common factor here of 2x. So let's group these. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to group these like this, but here's what I'm going to do. If I group this here like this, I'm going to have the subtraction sign outside the parentheses, and that's going to change things. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to change this to a plus negative, and then I'm going to put parentheses around it. Okay. Now I'm going to factor out the 2x. here. And that's going to give me 2x squared plus 1. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out the negative 1 here, and that's going to give me 2x plus 1 here. And now I've got the common, hold on a second. Oh, I'm sorry, 2x squared. That's right. So 2x squared, I factored out the wrong thing. 2x squared, and that leaves me 2x plus 1, and then if I factor out a negative 1 here, that gives me 2x plus 1. And now I can factor out again. So I'm going to factor out the 2x plus 1 now. So I'll factor out the 2x plus 1. And now what's left over is the 2x squared minus 1. And I'm done. That's it. So again, more practice with factoring by grouping. Have a good night.